Hello, everyone, and welcome to my lightning talk about saying no. I am speaking to you, the audience of the future, because I'm recording this last night, and it's really tough for me to talk to just the screen without talking to human beings. So I'm here with you now in my mind, time traveling. I am probably unqualified to give this lightning talk for the sheer fact that I'm here giving it right now instead of saying no, I don't have room in my life for it. I love saying yes to lightning talks. I love it. Let's see how this one goes in a recorded version so that tonight, here when I'm with you, speaking to you, instead I can be out on a date with my husband who I really wanted to say yes to. All right, saying no is a really important life skill. Also, its sibling, hearing no. Jean, you might ask, are you going to tell me about why it's such an important life skill? No. Moving on. There is lots to talk about this topic. But this is a lightning talk, so we're going to cover just a few things. All right, here are some things I want to talk about saying no. The first thing to understand is that saying that no is a complete sentence, all on its own, complete, right? But there are also other shapes that you can give to it besides using it as a complete sentence. Complete sentence, valid option. Also, you can say no and, no but, or no thanks. There are ways that you can shape and direct the conversation after you say no, and understanding that can really help you in figuring out how to say no in a way that works for you in the situation that you're in. The second thing I want to talk about here is considering when it's important to you to say no and when it's important to you to say yes. For me, I love saying yes to things. I want, when someone asks me to do something that matches my skill set and that I would enjoy doing, I love saying yes to that. But there's so many things in this world to do. And if I say yes to all of them, then I've effectively said no to all of them because I don't have the time or energy to actually devote to them. And so for me, learning how to say no is important because it allows me to really say yes to the things that I want to. Knowing your reason behind why you would say no to some things or yes to some things, I think can also help you learn to say no better. And speaking of learning to say no better, it's really important to know that saying no is a skill. You can practice it, you can get better at it, you can use it differently in different situations. Another skill I've been practicing is working with poi. You swing them around, their weight's on the end of a string. Sometimes I hit myself in the face. It's painful. It makes me want to sit down and cry. That's not the point of learning poi, but it happens during it. You might mess up when you're learning to say no too. That's okay if you have a larger why beyond that for why you want to learn how to say no. All right, let's do some practice together and put some practical bits on this. Here I have a whole bunch of situations in which I might be interested in saying no, and they all sort of wrap up together under the same umbrella of someone asks you for something and you don't actively want to give it to them. Maybe you might be okay with giving it to them. Maybe you're not sure if you want to give it to them or not, but you don't actively want to. So these are situations in which you could say no. Um, Remember, there are different ways to say no, different ways you might want the conversation to go afterwards. Here are some things to remember in these situations, right? One, you can say no. It is an option for you. I know that's a big statement, right? There may be some situations in which you don't feel like you can say no, or in which it's not safe for you to say no. But I do think that saying no is an option far more often than people tend to think it is. And it's an important thing to internalize that you are allowed to say no to things. Second of all, I want to remind you that you don't have to tell the person you're saying no to why you're saying no. Sometimes just no is all you want to tell them or give to them. Sometimes you want to tell them the reason. An important tip, don't just tell them the reason. I'll give you an example in a moment. Say no clearly if no is what you mean. Help them understand that you're at no and then where you want to go from there. Um, Important tip, you can pause. If you're not sure if you want to say yes or no to something, you can notice that and stop for a second and think about it. Uh, and what was your salary at your previous job? Hmm, I'm not going to tell you that information. There's a no. Just as it's okay to say no to things and you have that option, you don't always have to answer someone immediately. Even immediately within that moment, you can say, let me get back to you on that. I need to think about it. Valid also. All right, let's look at how you could answer some of these questions here to when someone asks you for something that you don't actively want to give to them. And I'm going to look at it with different ways I want to take the conversation afterwards, right? So when the interviewer says to you, what was your salary at your previous job? I'm not going to answer that question. That's a no as a complete sentence. Not giving them anything else. The ball is in their court for figuring out how to respond to that. That's an okay thing to do. If I would like to teach this person more, I might say more than that no. I might say, I'm not going to answer that question, and I believe it is inappropriate for you to ask it of me. What reason do you have that is okay for asking for that information? Um, you've taken the ball there and advanced it more than it was at before. Um, let's talk about can I have one of your drinks from the fridge, right? Here's an example where you don't want to give just the reason. Imagine the conversation went this way. Hey, can I have one of your drinks from the fridge? Oh, those are special drinks that I brought in just for myself. Did you just say no? Maybe you mean you can have one if they replace it? Maybe you mean, okay, you can have one, but I'm reluctant about it. You really haven't given them a clear indication of what your stance is on the topic there. Just it's somewhere fuzzy in between active consent and active rejection. Uh, I that's a soft no. We want to go for a clear no. Can I have one of your drinks in the fridge? Not right now. Um, Thank you for asking. That's a no thanks, right? Um, cool. There are some examples of those. Oh, one more example I want to talk about here. Someone random on the street calls out your name, calls out to you, hey, what's your name? A common response to this, a way that you can respond to it, and that I use somewhat frequently, is to kind of ignore them and pretend you didn't hear them. That's also a soft no. It's also perhaps a safety question, right? Keep my headphones on, keep my eyes straight ahead, keep on looking at my phone, whatever I'm doing, do not acknowledge that happened. That sometimes leads to them continuing to bother you, where a clearer no might not have. Like, hey, what's your name? No thanks. Maybe that would work, maybe it wouldn't. Depends on the situation. But it's important to know that you have that option about how direct and clear the communication of the no is for you. All right, here are some examples. Um, the last one, when a person tries to hand you something, you don't have to take it. You can keep your hands wherever they are with whatever you're doing. You can ask them what it is or why you would want to take it, or just say no thank you. It's okay to not take the thing from them. Let's talk about some different types of situations. These types of situations are one in which you have a list and it's already completely full and you're being asked to add to it. The common one at work, right, is your manager asks you to do another task. Um, can you run a retrospective next week? Hope you're thinking in the background, oh boy, my schedule is completely full. I'm already going to need to spend some extra time to do this. I really need some room in here, and you're trying to add another thing to it. This is a situation where there's a power dynamic that makes it feel difficult to just say No. Here's a technique for that you can ask them to help you with the situation that you've got. Can you run a retrospective next week? Well, here are the things I already have on my plate. Which of them are less important than that retrospective? What should I drop or push back further in order to do that? Does it make sense for someone else to do it? Um, Similarly, when a friend asks you to do something that you really would like to do and that would be great, but you really don't have time for it in your life, when you're already at capacity, there are ways to say no to that also, even though it's not a power dynamic, it's a relationship dynamic situation, right? You don't want to always say no to your friends because then they'll stop asking you at some point. Here's how I say no to that one. Um, I'm going to have to say no this time, but I really love the offer and I would love to do something with you at some point. Can we look at next week to see if something would work then? Or can you please make this invitation again next time this situation arises? I would like to do it then. I can't tonight. I often end up with overwhelming to-do lists where I know I am not going to be able to get all the things on them done. A good exercise for me at that point is to write down the list and cross some things off of it, and not as done, but as I'm just not going to get to these today. Uh, Often I tend to try to push things toward the top, like I really am going to do these. Sometimes it can really help to let some things drop off and say, no, this is not going to happen today. It is not my top priority. That's what we have time for. I want you to take away from this, hopefully, some amount of reflection on the topic of saying no, about when it's important to do it for you and how you can. I want you to know that you can practice, um, and think about situations where you might want to. And I want to encourage you to say what you mean clearly in situations that you're in. No, thank you.